Hey everyone, this is Ashley with Ashley Says So, and I am back with another pop-up scandals video. Now listen, I was going to save this until the Vanity video, but Vanity is way on down the line, I'm not gonna lie. And this information is just so juicy and so much tea that I had to go ahead and put a video out because I don't know if y'all knew about this. But anyways, before we get started, go ahead and like and subscribe. And also, I'm not going to do my disclaimer about what's true and what's false because this video appears to be all facts, okay? So let's go ahead and get to it. So I don't know how many of you guys know this, and we will delve deeper into this when I get to the Vanity video, but back in the early 90s, late 80s, Vanity was hooked on drugs bad. But in 1994, she ended up getting clean. She became a born-again Christian and she wanted to change her life around. And she was taking those steps and doing just that. But then in 1995, she found herself lonely and she wanted to find a husband, somebody to share her sobriety with. So I am not sure if she ended up going to an Oakland Raiders football game or maybe she just saw this guy on the social scene, but whatever the case, she ended up having an eye for a guy named Anthony Smith. When Vanity saw him, she was blown away. She thought this man was hecka fine, honey. You know, he was built up. She saw the way he dealt with other people. He seemed really nice, really mannerable. And it seems that Vanity must have known somebody in his circle or something like that. So she contacted that person and she let them know that, hey, you know, that guy is kind of cute. I would like to talk to him. Set it up for me. And they did. Now, that part right there that I just said is a rumor because that came from the person, I suppose, that set Vanity up with the guy. But if you would ask Vanity about it, she said that the Lord told her to go down to LA to minister to this young man. And maybe the Lord did tell her that, but in the midst of her ministering him, I don't know if they went on a couple of dates or what happened, but I do know that within 3 days of ministering to him, she proposed to him and asked him to marry her. And they married 1 month later, and the year was 1995. So after their marriage, everything seems fine. You know, he's a big NFL player, she's Vanity. It seems like they are very much in love, and they could have been at first. But then, not even a year later, the cracks start to show. You see, what Vanity didn't know is that Anthony Smith did not share those same values that she did. He wasn't all Christian and all hell-bent on helping people. So he would get upset with her because he said that she was way too kind in her nature. You know, Vanity was really trying to help people. She really thought she was doing God's work, and I suppose she was. When she would invite homeless people into their home, she would feed them, she would let them take showers in their home, she would give out her personal phone number, and Anthony Smith did not like this. But that is not the only thing that was wrong with Anthony Smith. There was a lot wrong with Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith came from a very broken and very abusive home. He was from a little town called Elizabeth City in North Carolina. It was one of those towns with a bunch of farmland and swampland and kind of like a little backcountry type town, you know what I mean? So everybody knew everybody's business. And it's said that his mother, Naomi, was described as a beautiful woman, but she was wild. You know, she drank too much. You know, those hard partying old time women that were very, very beautiful, but they kind of had a bad reputation. That is what his mother was. And he didn't even know his father. And those descriptions of his mother Naomi came from people around the neighborhood that lived beside them because she died when Anthony was only 3 years old, so he didn't really know her either. And she left him with his so-called stepfather. But the stepfather was pretty much just a man that was living with them. He also was beating on Anthony's mom, Naomi. One day, the stepfather suspected his mother of cheating on him. He lifted her up and sat her behind on a hot stove and branded this lady's buttocks on that stove. But Anthony did not have to endure living with this guy for long because it is said that his older half-brother came back home and basically kicked the abusive stepfather out. You know, he was like, you are not going to stay in this house. And so the stepfather left. The problem, though, Anthony's half-brother was also abusive. He was also mean. He was a very serious man, you know. He wasn't about to play with nobody, and definitely not Anthony. And years later, Anthony started telling some of his close friends that his brother used to hit on him. And so with all of this information factoring in, as Anthony grew up, he was kind of like a person with just no ego. He kind of was just there. And he wore these glasses. He was kind of nerdy, kind of geeky. And he almost did not really have a personality of his own. He did try to fit in with the other guys, but he was humongous. So they said it was kind of funny seeing him trying to do things that these little boys or little young guys were doing, really not conscious of the size that he was. But then his junior year of high school came around, and that is finally when the coaches got in his ear and let him know, like, hey, you can do great things in football. You are a big guy. You are very fast. Like, you can really become a pro football player if you give it everything you got. And that is when Anthony got serious about football. And he was great at football. He really shined. But while he was in school at Alabama and high school, he just would not meld well with the other football players. They described him as very weird and standoffish and kind of kept to himself. And then when he did try to fit in, he would tell a weird joke, like really, really weird, off the wall, sometimes violent. And then he would kind of laugh, but he would be the only one laughing. And then after he's done, he's like, and walking back off and tending to his own business. So, the other players are like, we don't know what's going on with him. One of the guys even came straight out and said it. They were like, man, just look at him. Look at him. There's something that just does not click right with him. If you just stare at him, something is not right. And this same player also said that Anthony could just be sitting there not doing anything. But even him just sitting there around everybody created this tension in the air, like this feeling of angst that they really could not understand, but it was just something about him. Soon enough, he does his duty and his time in Alabama is over, and he is a first draft pick to the Oakland Raiders. He was surprised. Everybody was surprised. Nobody even knew that I kind of knew that he was going to be drafted, but definitely not first round pick. The first 3 years that Anthony is with the NFL, he really shows off. Like, he shows how much he can do. And so they reward him by giving him a $7.6 million contract in 1994. And with this money, they said that he starts spending money everywhere. They even say that he starts to gift his older half brother, the one that really didn't treat him that well, he starts to buy this guy a new Corvette every year. He also buys himself several homes in several places. Okay, so now we're at 1995. Again, this is the year that he marries Vanity. Now they are together, and Vanity is starting to see the cracks show, because when she tries to help out and do all of this stuff with the homeless people, Anthony Smith gets violent towards her. It is said that one day he got so violent, his other teammates and everybody was around, but he didn't care. They said Vanity walked in the room and said something that he didn't like. Baby, they said he yanked her arm, almost took her arm off. The other NFL players were like, man, like, oh my gosh, he is really yanking this girl's arm like this. Like, does he not know how big he is? They even said that when he yanked her, he actually pulled her down and made her sit beside him. And when she did try to get up, he yanked her back down and was like, sit your tail down. Basically like, get down. You ain't going nowhere. And Vanity sat there looking crazy. And see, at this point, some of y'all probably out there being messy, because I ain't gonna lie, I was being messy too when I first heard about this, because I'm like, but Vanity, you said that God told you to come out here and minister to this man. But see, here's the key thing. She did say that God told her to come out and minister. But see, God probably ain't told her tell nothing about coming out and marrying this man, especially after only 3 days. You don't know him. You didn't know him. And now look what's going on. Sitting up there, don't know what to do. Sooner or later, Vanity got smart and she separated from his behind. And right after they separated, Anthony actually went to jail over domestic abuse for another woman. So apparently he had been cheating on Vanity this whole time and was also beating on the other woman as well. And Vanity did not know it, but she escaped this guy just in time, because things were about to get really, really bad for him. For one, that next year, or that same year, I'm not sure. Either way it goes, it was 1997. He was released from the Oakland Raiders. And at that point in time, it is said that he panicked. He didn't know what to do. But soon he was re-signed with the Denver Broncos, and that was in 1998. He goes out to Denver and he starts to practice with the team. And on the first practice, or first or second practice, this guy calls his homeboy and is like, hey, come get me. And his homeboy is like, what? And he's just like, well, I'm just done. I'm done. Come and get me. And the coaches and other teammates say that nobody did anything. Like, nothing happened to him. He just left. He just quit football. Right after he quit, exactly right after he quit, he and his new girlfriend, Teresa, tied the knot in Las Vegas. And soon, Anthony Smith found himself married with a new wife with a baby on the way and absolutely no money coming in. And so Anthony feels like, I'm just gonna do things to take money to get my way. So he starts to break the law. He starts to invest in this online medical billing scam. He starts to hang around all type of gangbangers, just really, really bad people that usually he wouldn't really have anything to do with. And when people that he used to hang out with are like, why are you with these people? Like, what's going on? These are gangbangers. These people will hurt you. Anthony says, this is more me. You know what I mean? These guys care about me. I feel more like I have a family with these guys. But there was a more hidden secret as to why Anthony had started hanging around these guys. You see, Anthony's mind had devolved into sheer wickedness. There were some terrible things going on in his mind, and soon he started to act out his horrible fantasies. Anthony starts coming home with caps that say like FBI. He's coming home with all of these different badges, CIA badges. Anything that has to do with law enforcement, he is doing it. Not only is he getting badges and hats, he's getting license plates made, he's getting all type of handcuffs and handguns and, big machine guns, just everything that he can get. And I know y'all are like, yeah, Ashley, that's kind of weird, but it's not harming anybody that he's buying this stuff. Clearly the guy wants to play dress up or something, but what does that have to do with anything? Well, I'll tell you what it has to do with anything. Anthony took some of this stuff that he purchased and he committed a horrific act. Let me tell you about it. In the city of Compton in November of 1999, brothers Ricky and Kevin Nettles were closing up their auto shop for the night. As they are closing up, this big tall guy pulls up and he has like all of this police gear on and everything like that, and he goes into the shop and he tells Ricky Nettles, hey, you need to come with me. I got questions for you. And Ricky is like, what is this about? So he turns Ricky around and he put handcuffs behind his back and he leads him to the car. Across the street is Ricky's brother Kevin, as well as some other person that used to work in the store with them. And Kevin comes running across the street like, hey man, what's going on? What has my brother done wrong? Oh yeah, you just the man I'm looking for. Your name Kevin? I need to talk to you too. And basically handcuffed Kevin as well. Drives off with the brothers, okay? And then on November the 11th, both brothers' bodies are found. Ricky's body is just found on a street in Compton, and his brother Kevin's body is found 8 miles away. Both bodies have their heads wrapped in duct tape. They had been shot multiple times, and Kevin, that is all that happened to him. But Ricky, not only was his head wrapped up and he shot multiple times, he also had been burned on his stomach, on his back, and it looks like somebody had took a clothing iron and just burned him with it. Basically just tortured this guy. Now, when the cops came to investigate the case, they had no idea who did anything. Nobody, absolutely nobody suspects Anthony Smith. As a matter of fact, the case went cold. And then in 2003, a business named Simply Sofas just catches on fire. Out of nowhere, it just burns. And it is burning badly. So badly that when the firefighters and the police get there, they suspect that this business has been set on fire purposely. So they end up questioning the owner of the store, trying to see, hey, is she trying to get an insurance payout? Like, what's going on? Because this seems fishy. But then they end up ruling her out. So they start to question her and ask her, hey, do you know anybody that might come and want to set your business on fire? And she kind of tells them, no, well, not really. And they're like, so you haven't had any issues with anybody? Nothing has been going on? And she's like, well, yeah, there's this guy, Anthony Smith. He had brought furniture in a couple of months ago and he wanted me to sell his furniture on consignment. Then he comes in a couple of weeks later and he sees that one of the objects he brought in for me to sell is broken. He argues with me and tells me that I broke the item, but I tell him, no sir, that was broken when you brought it in. And she says that he gets very, very angry and he's like, no, it was not broken when I brought it in. You owe me money. You broke this. So then she says that she ended up feeling threatened. So she ended up writing him a check for $650 to pay for whatever the object was that was broken, gave him that check, and he also started to move everything that he brought in there to sell back out. And the store owner, she is relieved. Of course, she's sad about losing $650, but she's like, ooh, child, that is whatever. I paid it in order to get rid of him because I don't know what was going on there. Well, Anthony Smith returns like 2 weeks later and tells her, that check that you gave me, I lost it. I don't know what happened to it, but you need to give me another check. I don't know what happened to it, but you need to give me another check. So the store owner is like, no, I'm not giving you another check. I'm not giving you any more money. And he's like, oh, you gonna give me some more money because you broke that item and you gonna give me some more money, blah, 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 blah. So she ends up writing him another check because she's just that scared. And then while he's leaving out, he lets her know, like you shouldn't have done that with me. You don't play with me, like wagging his finger in her face and stuff. And he turns to leave. After the store owner tells the police this, where of course they have to wait for everything to burn down and kind of cool down before they go and investigate. They go in the building to investigate and they find jugs that are similar to milk jugs, okay? It's about 3 or 4 of them and they are filled to the top with gasoline. And then they have paper stuffed inside of them. Well, when they take the paper out to analyze them, they find out it's a whole bunch of mail and the mail belongs to Anthony Smith. Immediately, they run over to his house and they start questioning him. It is said that Anthony Smith starts breaking down crying and then he tells the officers, hey, can you give me a minute to be alone with my wife? Then I'll come down to the station and talk to you guys. When they get to the station, the officer said the whole mood was just bad. You know why? Because he said it was a different person sitting in front of him. This person was not the same man that was at that house. This person was somebody that was cold and that was evil. And so the guy that questioned him at the house is telling Anthony, you know, okay, go ahead and tell me the rest of the story. And Anthony is kind of sitting there like, what story? What you talking about? And the guy is like, tell me what happened. We know that you tried to firebomb this place. And Anthony is like, how y'all know that? Like, what are you talking about? Why are you telling me for? I don't have anything to do with that. You know, he's taking on this type of attitude. And the cop is like, okay, at the house, you just started crying. And Anthony Smith had the nerve to say, oh, I was crying because, you know, you guys said that blaze was so hot. Like, I was scared for the firefighter. That really hurt my feelings. I was scared for the owner. I thought something may have happened to her. So what's wrong? Is it not okay for a grown man to cry? And he was really being a hard suspect. So the cop finally just got like really frustrated and was like, dude, we got your name. Like, there's mail right here with your name. And so Anthony again is like, okay, so what does that prove? Who cares that you have my mail, my name? Anybody could have planted that. They could have set me up. Who knows? And the cop is like, oh my gosh. Okay, so who set you up? Who set you up? And then Anthony tells him, you know, I don't know. You need to do your homework. You need to do your homework. As a matter of fact, don't come and approach me again until you do your homework. So this guy is very smart and very dangerous. In the end, they do release him that day, but then another day they come back to his home to question him, and on that day he gets arrested. He goes to trial twice, and on both times the jury deadlocked. So he was free to go. And I mean, he had everybody speaking in his favor. There were pastors, there were big time friends. Everybody is just like, he's a great guy, he's a good man. But Anthony has 2 faces. October 7th, 2008, 31-year-old Hispanic male Marillo Ponce, or Ponce, is found deceased on the side of the road. He had a black eye. There were bruises all over his body. There were cuts all over his body. It was like he was beaten before being shot twice in the back of the head. Marillo's wife said that night before he was home with the children. He was dancing with them. He was having a good time. And then a little bit later, he put on jeans and like a nice sweater, and he told her he was going out. And he told her that she should wait up for him. He drove away in his Navigator and he had his cell phone with him. But of course, what do you know? When you get to the scene, there's no car or no cell phone. So when the cops start to review his cell phone records, they see that Marillo has been in touch with 3 people. Charles Chuck E. Cheese Honest, DeJuan White, and Anthony Smith. Charles and DeJuan came over for Marillo, and I don't know if they forced him to get in the truck or if he got in the truck willingly, but he got in the truck with one of them, and then the other one came around and picked up his car, okay? So they're driving and they're trying to rob Marillo, but he has no money on him. He has no money anywhere. So they're like, okay, well, if you don't have no money on you, point us to your house. And Marillo will not do it. He will not show these guys where he lives because his family is there. So that is when they start beating on him, kicking him, doing everything to try to get him to take them to his house. He won't do it. So they pull over at a field, and that is when they march him out of the car and they shoot him twice in the back of the head. After they leave him in the field for dead, they take his car and his cell phone and they take them to Anthony Smith's house. So after the police had followed the trail of checking the cell phone records, they saw that he was in contact with Anthony Smith. They go to Anthony Smith's house, and when they get there, the Navigator is there. The cell phone is there. Now, what was never clear is the incident that happened that made Marilio get killed. Like, what was it? Did he owe Anthony some money, or did he talk to Anthony any kind of way? What happened? But then again, nothing really has to happen at all. Because remember, Anthony committed murder on those two brothers who hadn't done anything to him. They didn't even know that he existed, and he just straight up killed those guys. Anthony does end up getting charged with the murder of Marilio, but while they're investigating and gathering evidence for this case, the police find out about another case of murder that Anthony is involved in. And this guy's name is Denny Ray Henderson. And this all happened back in 2001. And what happened in this case is that Denny Ray's brother lived beside Anthony. And so one day Anthony tells him, I want to buy some pills. I want to buy some weed. Like, you know where I can get some from? And so the guy tells him, yeah, my brother Denny Ray, he sells that stuff, man. He can hook you up. Well, Anthony and Denny Ray started hanging out on their own. Like, they became cool, like homeboys. And people are guessing that Denny Ray asked Anthony, could he borrow some money or something dealing with funds, that Anthony was owed money, but Denny Ray maybe kept putting him off, you know. Who knows? All they know is on June 25th, 2001, Denny Ray was found in the back of his red Chevy Impala. His head had been stomped on with full force. There was still a shoe print on his face. His jaw was broken. His cheekbone was fractured. He was stabbed in his left eye. He was stabbed in his ear. And he also was stabbed 11 times in the back. A cable tie was left on one wrist. And so after hearing about Denny Ray's case, the police are very thankful that they can solve the case, but they are also like, oh my goodness, this guy Anthony Smith was very well on his way to being a serial killer. But honey, it ain't done yet. That same neighbor, Denny Ray's brother, came back again and told the police, hey, Anthony came to me one day and told me that he murdered two brothers out in Compton. They owned a car wash and he dressed up like a police officer and he murdered these guys. And that is when the police are finally able to solve the cold case murders of Ricky and Kevin Nettles. And that is when they finally understand that Anthony Smith is a full-blown psychopath. This guy wears two faces, and if things don't go his way or he feels like somebody did him wrong, he will commit murder.
Hey y'all, I forgot to add this. I don't know what's wrong with me. But anyways, to tell you what happened to this guy, he was charged with all three murders, the murders of the brothers and the murder of Denny Ray. And he was found guilty and he was sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. This happened on January the 22nd, 2016.
And so this is the end of this video, but y'all, I had to go ahead and make this video because it was like, wow, when I read this information, I could not believe it. I had no idea that Vanity had been married to this guy and that he was crazy like this or whatever he was. You know, I don't know what to call it. But child, did y'all know about this? Anyways, go ahead and comment and tell me the way y'all feel because the whole story is just doing too much, honey. Go ahead and comment and click like and subscribe because I don't even know what to make of the situation. I'll see y'all soon with another old Hollywood scandal.